Prost, David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency. Welcome to my Munich Oktoberfest review show. Yes, we were there recently on a travel package in late September with Thirsty Schwagman, who I'll talk about in detail during this show. We spent 2 days at the festival, 3 nights at the Hotel Senator, right outside the Wiesn, the grounds where the festival is held. And today I'm going to talk about the festival myths. Going to talk about some myths, going to debunk those today, or maybe reinforce those myths. Popular tents, obviously the beer and the food, and also our hotel and location, which was critical to our wondrous Oktoberfest in Munich, the world's biggest beer festival. As always, like this where you're watching it, comment, leave me a question in the chat, and share it. It really does help me out. And subscribe to my Fantastic Endeavors YouTube channel. And stay tuned. Towards the end of the show, I'll discuss my best of the fest. It was my first Munich Oktoberfest, and I have a lot to say about tips for you guys and what I feel was best of what we saw at the festival, which is huge, and I'll talk about in a few minutes. So let's first talk about the common myths of Oktoberfest. First off, the festival happens in October. Well, kind of. We'll talk about that. Oktoberfest is all about drinking beer. Come on, guys. It's not about drinking beer. Well, kind of all about drinking beer, but there's a lot going on in the festival more than beer that we'll talk about a little bit. The festival features beers from around Germany. Is that true? I don't know. Another myth, the festival tents are permanent structures. Are they? Are they there year round? Why is the festival only 16 days long then? There's a cost to enter the festival grounds, a common myth that I learned about that is maybe true or untrue. Stay tuned to find out. Festival tent reservations are required. A big promotion. A lot of promoters want you to go there and buy festival tent reservations. Turns out maybe you don't need those. We'll talk about that too. Everyone must chug a liter of beer like I'm doing right now. Yes, that is a very common myth. Maybe it's true. And history of the Oktoberfest is not a myth. We're going to talk about that right now. So hit those myths across the show. Let me know in the chat. There's one out there you heard of, and I'll address that too. I am watching my comments here as we go along. Munich Oktoberfest started in 1810, the marriage of Ludwig I to Teresa, and it happened in these fairgrounds that were outside of Munich at the time, and the same fields are used today for the now long-going Oktoberfest. It's happened many years since 1810. There have been cancellations the past 2 years, obviously due to COVID, many wars, cholera outbreaks in the past. But overall, it's been a consistent festival since 1950. It all came about as a wedding and celebration. They had horse races in these fairgrounds they called Teresa Thiessen, and their fairgrounds Munich Oktoberfest, now called the Wiesn. And these means Teresa's Meadow, or the Fields of Teresa, are where they happen every year. And during this time, they said, what a great party. Let's have these horse races and these traditions every year in anniversary of your wedding day, Ludwig I, who was king at the time of Germany and Munich. That grew over time to having beer festivals, and bratwurst came in for tents, and different tents and vendors. And then as it grew and changed a little bit, they changed dates. It was in October originally, but when it really grew, they moved it to September for the longer day and the better weather, because it became more and more popular and a worldwide thing. And pretty much since 1950, it's been what it is now. In 1960, it really became a worldwide festival, a tourist attraction, as they say. And the modern day Oktoberfest is mid-September to the first Monday in October. It actually ends in October. The U.S. has it all wrong. But honestly, these festivals you'll hear about travel throughout Germany now, and some are through October. But it originally started in October, but now it actually is more of a September festival. We were there in late September. The weather was not great, but it was still fun to be there. As I mentioned, the Wiesn, the Wiesn, are the fairgrounds in Munich. It is the world's biggest fairgrounds in Europe. Over 100 acres, and they are consumed by this festival. But believe it or not, it is not the longest festival they have at the Thiessen. These structures are not permanent that you're going to see. I'm in the Hofbrau tent right now. Amazingly, they gave me access again. And look at the size of it. And this is not a permanent structure. They build it just for this 16 or 70-day festival. Amazing, amazing. There's actually a longer festival in the summertime in the Wiesn. And there's actually a bigger festival as far as not attendees, but as far as number of tents or crafts to get involved in. Let me show you a map real quick of the festival. Oh, let me skip the map because it's pretty clear. It takes up this whole festival. It's an amazing, amazing area. There's probably about 10 different tents, but let me go into just the details that are insane. There's over 6 million attendees annually and over 7 million liters of beer at its peak. 2 years was missed due to COVID. This year, it was a little bit less, didn't quite hit the numbers. I think people still worried about travel, but overall it was a great comeback. And we were there. And let me tell you, we contributed to those millions of liters of beer that we're drinking. I think they hit 6.4 liters this year and just under 6 million attendees in the 16 days, which is a ton of people. It's a big festival. See the tent behind me. These are crowded areas, but as we talk about the festival and our experience, you realize a lot of the myths just are not true as far as how you navigate the festival. And I will tell you, it's a modern day beer festival. Definitely there's pa bands, but there's a lot of modern bands once you hit the afternoons and the evenings, and only certain tents have the pa bands like the polka style bands that you're familiar with. No one ever plays the chicken dance, but they play some of the songs you see like Roll Out the Barrels, things like that kind of music. But overall, there's a lot of modern bands, but they still have their roots. And a good example coming up is what they started many years ago as the festival grew in the late 1800s, and they brought in, beer as a big thing. And by the way, all the beer tents, all the tents that we visited are local Munich beers only. Sorry, no Becks, no one from Bremen, no Heineken. I'm saying Heineken's Dutch. Okay, it's not German. Only the ones you know as Lowenbrau, where I am right now. Lowenbrau was big in the 80s in the U.S., and then the beer purity laws of Germany were not being upheld by the brewers here, so they pulled it, so it's hard to find now. Augustiner, Paulaner, Spaten, names you'd know if you kind of drink imported beer. A lot of names I never saw before. All really good beers, made to drink in volume. When you hit the tents, it's really only like, one beer they're being served. But I like the roots. The modern day festival is about the popularity, but it still has its roots in the tradition. And as we visited the festival, thankfully our tour guide, Kenneth Hart from Thirsty Swagman, took us to the Old Thiessen, which is in honor of the old festival, because a lot of locals are upset it's gotten to be a more crowded festival, more of a tourist distraction. But one example here, right in front of our hotel center, we had the march, the festival parade of the beer kegs. They bring the beer kegs like they did 120 years ago down the roads of Munich by Clydesdales. It's an amazing sight to see. Check it out right now. Oktoberfest, Munich, in front of a hotel. They deliver the beer the old school way. Fantastic. Started in 1397. How cool is that? So I love the fact they keep the roots of the old festival, how it was in the 1800s. And they're local breweries, and some around the corner. When we left our last day to go to the airport, we passed Augustine around the corner. Oh my God, they could roll the kegs downhill to the festival. That's how close they are. And these breweries, most of them are hundreds of years old, almost 1,000-year-old, some of them. So these are traditional German beers, the famous beer purity law you can research. And they are just easy drinking beers. Bavarians love their big beers, and they start the tradition of the big things. Everything you see when you celebrate Oktoberfest started here in Munich 120 years, 200 years ago. So it's an amazing, amazing time. And I love the fact they keep their roots. Next, I want to go into our experience, what we did. I see some great comments coming in, Dave Esposito. And I will say right now, someone did share their experience. Doreen said, was there in 1991 so much fun? Listen, it's been a big thing since 1950. The format hasn't changed much since then, despite cancellations here and there. I mean, it is awesome. And Dave, I'll address your questions more towards the end. He's asking about one of my friends that attended. I will talk about that too. So actually, Dave Esposito, thanks for the interlude. I did a Thirsty Schwagman package. I'm a travel agent, as you know, that's why I do this show. And my friends, Ken Burrell, Tony Baxter, Rich Schroeder, we had planned this for a 50th birthday celebration in October 2020. I started planning the trip actually back in December of 18 for September of 2020. And I like this guy, Thirsty Swagman, I found because he'd work with me as a travel agent. He'd take care of my guys, make sure we all room together, had preferred treatment. And he had the hotels. Other places like, oh my God, the Passion Play. Oh my God, look it up. It's so popular. It's hard to get hotels in Munich. No one would talk to me about hotels 2 years out. This guy had the hotels and everything was very easy. And my God, his crew attracts great people. So I'm so glad I booked Thirsty Swagman. I represent him now. So please talk to me if you want to book a beer festival around the world. And so we went for our 50th birthday, ended up being 52nd birthday. Ken Brill's birthday happened during the trip. And yes, Dave Esposito, Ken did have a good time, but no, he did not try to ride one of the horses as they came by our hotel. By the way, that parade, I was standing right in front of our hotel, and that our go left, and it was literally 300 yards to the festival entrance, which was amazing. And Dave, I'll get the rest of your questions as I get through my little review. So I want to talk about our experience. We arrived on a Saturday night and basically hung out in the hotel bar. All the hotels were hosted by Thirsty Swagman, had amazing hotel bars where you gather before and especially after the festival. Festival winds down about 10 o'clock, closed by 11. The party continues at the hotel bars. Wow, that was a lot of fun too, to add to the experience. So Sunday was the big day. Thirsty Swagman, he's great. He's been going for years. He's there the whole time. He has tent reservations, which are not required but recommended, especially on a weekend. Midweek Monday, we just walked into any tent we wanted to, which was phenomenal. We actually were escorted into the Hofbrau tent. But we started out as a group, 60 people in 3 hotels. We booked the closest one because I booked it 2 years out and had it moved like twice, 4 years in the making. All sat by with a group, made some friends the night before, made some new friends at our table, sat up high where we are right now. Then as the band changed from Oompa Pa to a real modern band player, modern sing-along music, every song you could think of. Take a guess what song I heard the most, by the way, in the chat, David. Take a guess. It's a modern-day song by an Irish band. That's all I'll say. But every single tent was playing this song. It's still in my head. And then we moved down and really started to party. So it was great to have that group environment. And then we kind of broke off to our own little kind of fiefdoms, own little cliques, I would say. But great people. This guy knows how to put people together, knows how to organize them. We all walked in together. We all sat together. We all ate and had beer. Then it was about the party. I spent all day in this one tent. We moved on to another tent, could not find a seat because it was a weekend, didn't have a reservation. Sunday versus Monday. Came back to Hofbrau, finished out the night. I was there all day, despite some injuries I had you may have known about. And I was there from 12:30 till 10 p.m., whatever it was, then continued to party at the hotel bar afterwards. I want to give you a flavor of the Hofbrau tent right now. This is the tribute of the trumpets as we arrived on the second level before we went down to the first level right by the band stage. Check it out. Almost. Prost, still here right now, haven't left. Amazing. That's a temporary structure for mostly the festival. They spent months building these things. One reason they couldn't even think about opening during COVID was because they needed a few months to build these tents and it was never safe. And it actually worked out for the better because they were going to do it in 2021 and then Delta hit and that would have ended all the work being done. Amazing Hofbrau. I'll tell you at the end what my favorite tents. I hit a number of tents. There's over 10 of these pavilions, call them. We call them tents because back in the day, they were just canvas tents. And now there are these huge structures because they have to house so many people, 6 million plus people over 16 days. And in this tent right now, there's probably over 15,000, I believe. I think this is one of the bigger tents. Some of the bigger tent, including outdoor seating. Some have outdoor seating, but we had indoor seating wherever we went, thanks to Thirsty Swagman. It's nice to have a tour guide and escort on a trip like this your first time. It was our first time for all of us. It was a great celebration. We made some great friends along the way, as you saw in the picture. Australian couple, Gary Vaughn and his wife were fantastic. Sorry, Peter Vaughn and his wife. Gary was also in that video too, a guy from California we met and really bonded with the group. A bunch of guys we met were fitness trainers from California. They felt like they were tour guides. They were so outgoing, just amazing people. And the staff in these tents is amazing. I'll give you an example right now as we preview day 2 in the Hofbrau tent. I don't have any sound on this, but I found this on Facebook. Check out one of the servers. The servers are famous for carrying beers, but I've never seen a server like this. I found this on the Thirsty Schwagman had posted this from part of his festival. Our servers were impressive, but this one I'm going to show you is 4'9". 4'9". And you got to see how many beers she carries the way to the tables. When you get there, the beers are already ordered. They just show up and you pay. That's it. And actually, Thirsty Schwagman included 2 big liters and a meal voucher for our 2 days in the festival. We did one tent Lowenbrau, and day 2 I'll tell you about in a minute. But check out this girl right now, one of the famous servers of Oktoberfest. No, it's not just one level of beers. It's going to be 2. She's 4'9". To me, this is just amazing. And also, look how fast that guy's pouring beer. That's how they pour them with the foam and it settles down, hence the line on the glass liter. That's how it's done. And it still ends up being a liter of beer. It's amazing. Imagine that. That is great. That is just great. Those are the servers Oktoberfest. They're amazing. Just look online. You see the amount of food they carry. These ladies are amazing, and the bands are amazing. Great job. Next up, I want to move to day 2. Day 1 was all about Lowenbrau. That was what we did because it was a weekend, and we had so much fun there. We ended up getting below the stage and had our own group, had a table, and you make friends at other tables. And it's just like you hear about. It's just like Oktoberfest in America. You're partying at big tables, making friends, having a great time, because it's all about making friends, of course. So day 2, we decided to go somewhere else because we knew we can get another tents. We tried to get an Augustiner the first night, didn't work. Finished on Oktoberfest at a different part of the stage, made some more brand new friends there. Next up, I want to talk about our time in Hofbrau. Now it's a Monday, so fast forward to the next day and say, hey, we asked our new Australian friends, Gary Vaughn and his wife, and the whole group said, hey, what do we want to do tomorrow? We're not going in with Thirsty Schwagman on our tour until 4 o'clock or so, meeting at the hotel, because the festival goes all night, and that's what his plan, to give us some time to relax and enjoy the festival. Festival's free to get in. I mentioned before, it's a free festival, and they have rides. It's more than just about the beer, but really it's about the beer. Let's be honest. There are things for kids, for families. It's become a whole fairgrounds, not just about these 10 different tents of drinking. One of them is wine, I believe. We didn't find that one. But mostly about local Munich beers and drinking is what you do. And you can just hop in and out of the festival tents during the week. On the weekend, we were there during Italian weekend, where all the Italians come from Italy, come to the festival. It is swamped. I mean, wow. So Monday, we're like, hey, let's meet and go to Hofbrau for lunch. Walk into Hofbrau, do a selfie. A young guy comes out and says, hey, can I take your picture for you? Yes. He goes, do you need a table? We said, yes. We don't have, do you have reservations? We go, no, don't worry. How about a table right by the stage? We said, hell yeah. He escorted us to a table right below the stage. We saw the header picture of this show on my Facebook. Check it out. And that's where we sat. The guy wouldn't even take a tip. And we could have walked in numerous tents that day, which we did later on that night. So here's a taste of Hofbrau tent. Much smaller than Lowenbrau, more traditional, older school tent. Manage the attendance a little better. And then another myth I'm debunking is everyone chugs beer at Oktoberfest. I didn't chug a beer, nor was I going to. I decided not to. No one tried in our other tents we were in. If it was too crowded, too loud, we didn't hear them. But in Hofbrau, the quieter, more traditional band that was always drinking and barely playing, there was people chugging beer everywhere, ladies chugging beer, a guy in the balcony chugging beer. I was like, whoa, this is the Oktoberfest I expect. But it wasn't every single tent, only Hofbrau. So, and by the way, no one chugs a full beer. They all go halfway. So maybe once in a while, but everyone I saw. So here's a little taste of Hofbrau tent and the traditional chugging of the beer. Of course, we had to get this on video because it's a must-do when you go Oktoberfest. Not. So that's Hofbrau. You can see the difference. Very white awning, much lower than Lowenbrau tent. There's a lot of diversity. These breweries are in charge of these tents. They pay a lot of money to put them up, but they get it back in spades with volume. That's why the last 2 years they really got hurt, because they plan on this volume as part of their bottom line, but they also didn't have to put the tents up They canceled it before they started building the last 2 years. So thankfully, none of them lost money on any pre-festival that didn't happen. They got it back this year, though. It was a very, very good return to the festival. But you can see the differences in the tents. It's all down one main street of the festival. You can just hop in and out during the week. And one of my tips at the end, I'll talk about when you should attend the festival. Getting more comments. Keep them coming. I think Dave Vesuvius is on a tear. Thanks for watching, Dave. I got to address some of these comments right now. I heard Ken. No, he didn't do that. No one had any problems with me getting hurt in Dublin. Was Ken? Yes. Ken was able to handle his beer. We all handled our beer. We all did very well. Some great stories were told. I'm not going to talk about now. If the guys want to chime in and comment, that's fine. But I appreciate you watching, Dave. Yeah. Yeah, we also went to Dublin too. So appreciate you guys watching. Any comments about your experience at Oktoberfest? Do you want to go? What are your concerns? I'm debunking the myths. I'll talk about my review. I'm handling it all right now just for you guys. Leave a comment in the chat. Next up, I want to talk about day 2. Again, day 2 continued after Hofbrau. It was a very kind of quiet environment. Just walked in, went to Hofbrau, had our lunch. I had a pork knuckle there. It wasn't as good as the pork knuckle I tasted in Lowenbrau. And the biggest dish there is the half a chicken. And it's all done right there. All these places at these pavilion tents have bathrooms, big bathrooms, never a wait that I had. And they have the food all made right there, big kitchens, and this is all volume food. And some smaller tents have a little less volume food, but, chicken, pork, good meats because it's Germany, all ready for you, ready to go. When you order, it arrives very quickly. Half a chicken was good. Pork knuckle to me was better in Lowenbrau, not as good in Hofbrau tent. I thought the food was mixed. I'll talk about that as I go along. There was the meatball-looking things in Augustiner. I thought looked great, but didn't taste as good. Our friend Peter had a problem with chicken one night. I had a problem with pork one day. Didn't really agree with me. You're drinking a lot of beer, so it's hard for food to settle. But the half chicken at Lowenbrau and the pork knuckle Lowenbrau are fantastic. Comments keep on coming. Dave's enjoying the show. Others enjoying the show too. Next up is part of our group tour. So Lowenbrau was part of our group tour. Thirsty Schwagman, Kenneth Hart, and his crew. Day 2, Hofbrau was on our own. Just meet and walk in. And we could have done numerous tents. But the point was to get immersed in one tent, enjoy it, go back, get to the hotel, relax, and then join our crew. And we could have hopped in every tent that day, but that was not our point because I want to go back and leave some for my next visit. And I wanted to experience every tent has to offer. This was cool. This was the old Thiessen, and Ken does this on purpose because about 10 years ago or so, the locals said, hey, we've lost the traditions of the festival. We have this Clydesdales bringing beer, but bring back what happened. What happened to the old Thiessen? What happened to the old Oktoberfest? They have a festival as a separate fee to keep the crowds down, keeps all the locals out, I guess. Only for the locals, I mean. And there's more little games there, more little carnival rides. And this festival tradition, the traditional festival, which is all about a big Oompah band and the whip dancers, and it is fantastic. You drink beer out of steins. Everywhere else is glass, and they serve Augustiner only, which to me is the best beer Oktoberfest made right around the corner. You can almost see the brewery from the festival grounds. Munich, local beer. All the beers are local Munich, by the way, at Oktoberfest. Loved it. Loved the beer. Just tasted better out of a traditional stein. When you crack them, they don't crack. Somehow I broke a big glass, but not a stein, and cheering people. We also went to Augustiner, has their own big pavilion tent, but festival tradition also serves. And here's a taste right now of how the old Thiessen operates, how Oktoberfest used to be in the festival, the tradition tent. Classic. Those of you who go to the Oktoberfest around the U.S., because Oktoberfest does travel after almost 200 years in Germany. Now it does get around, obviously. And it does. The tradition is still there, mostly midday in most of the tents. And honestly, where we are now, Lowenbrau tent, we're like, this band's awful. Turns out the local Munichs are just getting drunk themselves and playing every so often. Hofbrau, the band, barely played. One guy played. But come later on in these modern day tents, young bands come in and they kick it and they play a lot of sing-along music, from U.S. and around the world. But that was the festival, the Tristan tent. Show you how it used to be, how Oktoberfest here. But really, Oktoberfest now is a more modern, with its festival roots still there. And I appreciate the old Thiessen. And I'm getting ahead of myself here. And I appreciate how they keep this piece alive. It's a very quieter, low-key part of the festival in the old Thiessen, the older Thiessen. Next up, a hotel review. We stayed 3 nights at the Hotel Center, 24th to 27th. One of the hotels, Thirsty Schwagman, had set up for the festival years in advance. And I like the fact he has a relationship there. He picks places close to the festival and with good bars that are run by locals that are good hangouts before and after the festival. Because the party continues at the hotel bars, I got to tell you. Like, wow. Very, very impressive. But it's a great location. I mean, right outside the festival grounds at the north entrance, if you look at a festival map. But no AC, which didn't bother us this trip because it was very cool. But they had times in the past, in the mid-September, it gets warm. It could be warm through the whole festival. So they are switching this hotel out. They had the Sheraton, which is even close to the festival, just up the hill. The Hill of Shame, by the way, which we didn't visit. It does exist. One of the myths I didn't talk about, the Hill of Shame does exist, but our crew, David Esposito, did not visit it. David, by the way, I will address some of your questions. My friend David's watching this, firing up comments, which is awesome. That's my hotel review. Great hotel. Love the hotel bar. Traditional one-key system. Leave a key at the desk, which I didn't quite like because if someone grabbed the key and forgot to leave it, then you had nobody to get in your room. It's kind of weird. But location, you couldn't beat location. Absolutely fantastic right there in the hotel bar. It was unbelievable. And great breakfast. Buffet breakfast included. That was phenomenal. I'm next going to cover my best of the fest. Before I do that, I give you a preview initially. I do want to cover some comments. My man, David Esposito, high school friend. David, you belonged on this trip and hope you're enjoying Florida too. He is reaching out to my friend Ken Burrill, who's also on the trip, known Ken since a child. He did have a few questions. He said, was there enough outhouses to handle all the people? Yes. Every single one of these tents, these big pavilions, has rows and rows and rows of outhouses that feel permanent. They actually are temporary. Because the festival grounds, do a Google map right now. It is just an open field, 100 acres, when Oktoberfest is going on. But they have other festivals year-round. He said, are there enough outhouses for the beer? Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, it turns out outhouses. Like you go to the Hill of Shame, that basically becomes a big outhouse. And I'm not wearing Lederhosen today. I actually borrowed Tony Baxter's. I didn't buy any because I didn't want to get ripped off. I want to buy traditional stuff. By the time I got there, they said, the traditional stuff is more downtown Munich, not out by the Thiessen, by the Wiesen. And by the time I got there, Tony had a pair for me to borrow. It is a bear, I will say, David. You do almost do yourself in your pants because it's a lot to take off. So when you do go, I recommend wear the traditional Lederhosen, which is leather shorts, why they call it Lederhosen. And the ladies have the traditional dress. Wear that maybe one day, but what I wear with shorts is also fine. And definitely bring your authentic Bavarian hat. Mine was bought in Austrian Bavaria long before this trip. But thanks for chiming in, Dave. Keep the comments coming, everyone. Why are the hotels find old pretzels in your room when you checked out? Yeah, who knows? The food comes from everywhere, and who knows where it ends up. But yeah, we did okay, Dave, with our hotel. Next up, Hotel Center was great. I want to talk about my best of the fest. Best beer, Augustiner Brau, the oldest beer in Munich, 1,000-year-old brewery, 1,200 years old. One with big brick building, non-ongoing brick building. We drove by it on the way out, just west of the field of the Wiesen. I was like, wow, it's right there. And we also saw their Clydesdales drive by. They bring in the kegs to the festival in the old tradition, the roots that they have. And their tent was also, to me, impressive. We saw it on day one, couldn't sit down. And then we went tent hopping. I don't have a lot of footage or pictures from day two at the evening because I don't remember a lot of it. I'm not sure all that we saw. We could have visited all 10. I'm pretty sure we didn't. But we visited a number, and the bands were just incredible. The best food, pork knuckle Lowenbrau tent where I am right now, the biggest tent I saw there. And this thing is huge and it tasted fantastic. And their half a chicken's good too. Again, we didn't visit all 10 of the festival tents, but once we did visit, this one stood out. Best band by a hair, because there's so many good bands. When it gets to the evening, they bring in the younger bands. They spend some money on some good people who really know how to get a crowd going, and they are phenomenal. But Augustina Brau, I remember just walking in there for just a few minutes, trying to find a table on a crazy Sunday night, not having a reservation, getting kicked out of table after table. It's like, damn, we were fighting so hard because the band was just so good. And we went back the next night, the same band was playing, and damn, they were just awesome. They rocked the house. I'm still waiting to hear, David, what do you think is the song they played? An Irish band originally sung this song. Every band played this song, and the whole crowd would cheer it. I didn't realize this would be the song of Oktoberfest. Best overall tent, Lowenbrau. Yes, most because I spent all day there. I'm biased, but it has the upper ledge where I am right now. Start out the day there in the daylight, and look out the window and check out the festival and just chill. As things pick up, if you enjoy your lunch, get down, find a table, find some fun people, and it rocks. And the size is overwhelming, and it doesn't get old. To me, it was our best overall experience. They did a great job there. Lowenbrau beer, the beer you heard about in the 80s, the kid, the ads, the beer maybe you had when you were younger. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I mean, great time. Loved it. Thirsty Schwagman, let's review his package. He has this down. This guy's been doing this for so long, he has it cold. He has now the hotels. He has tour guides in every hotel that are always there for you. Banners up everywhere. These hotels really cater to him because he brings a lot of business every year, and he has a lot of pull with them for getting things you need, getting things done, resolving issues. And the guides are very good. We had Ashley Smith, a local from Boston. She is awesome. We also had Max, my man Max Dittmer, hung out with them out the first night when I was just kind of chilling, getting ready for the festival, our first day in the festival. Great people, great locals. Every tour guide has a local from Munich and a more American person. Both know English very well. And Kenneth is there himself escorting people around. And he is a fantastic guy. Great to hang out with, great people. And the package, again, I would always go with him again because he has the hotels way in advance that are short walking distance to the festival. And what I love about good tours, of things that are well done, they just attract good people. The energy about what he does, the way he markets himself, the way he actually helps them online, they attract awesome people. And I tell you, I'll be in touch to this day with Gary from California and Peter Vaughn and his wife from Australia. They are friends for life now, and I met them on this tour. Can't say enough about Thirsty Swagman. If you want to book any tours to Oktoberfest through it in general or through Thirsty Swagman, I do represent Thirsty Swagman. I do sell travel now for his company. Please hook me up. David Hartman, 453-9208, area code 305, and Dave at bucketwishtrip.com. You can find Thirsty Swagman on Facebook at Thirsty Swagman. My tips, going to a festival yourself, book a package like with Thirsty Swagman, way in advance, plan it ahead, and attend midweek. Thankfully, we had that Monday, because if I saw the festival just Sunday, I'd be like, great. All I saw was Lowenbrau. It was awesome. And I tell people, if it was just 110, it's worth going to. But I would have felt shorted if I didn't have a package that included guarantee entries to 2 tents and then hang around long enough, go early enough on a midweek day, like a Monday, and see about 3 or 4 more tents. I don't remember. We had a lot of liters of beer. But we saw a lot of tents. Didn't see them all. Didn't ride any rides. Didn't encompass all the festival. That wasn't the point. This was just to scratch the surface and get a better idea. That's my big tip. And in closing, before I go to comments, I will say it's a must-do festival. Yes, it's a big tourist experience. Yes, it's crowded at times. You must do this once, but Oktoberfest does now travel, not just in the U.S., and there are some epic ones here. I know in New Braunfels, Texas. I know here up in Central Florida they have one. Actually, East Coast of Florida has one that's pretty big. They're all over the country, and they follow the old tradition and the new traditions of Oktoberfest Munich, where it all began in 1810. It also travels in Germany, sometimes hanging out in a smaller village in Germany and seeing the mayor break the keg, or the kegs brought in by Clydesdales, happens in these different towns. Stuttgart Beer Festival. Stuttgart is now the one to go to for lack of tourists, but hanging out with the locals. That's a similar vibe to Munich, the same kind of party atmosphere. And it's a party. People are drinking to oblivion. People are partying to oblivion. It is just fun nonstop. Must attend, but the crowds may overwhelm you, so make sure you travel around. Thirsty Swag Man, I'm already selling. Next year is already sold out. I have a couple of rooms left. He does a 9-day around Germany beer tour. Starts in Oktoberfest, of course. See the traditional one towards the end, and then tour around smaller festivals in Germany, and then end at Stuttgart. And I plan on doing that next year to check it out with a small group and plan on doing a bigger group in the future. So stay tuned for details on that festival. Guys, thanks for watching my review. We covered Oktoberfest today. Prost. Oktoberfest review. Before I close out, I'll go to comments. And I'm sure it's... All right. Why was Tony Boxer carrying a hockey stick everywhere? I think that was just his Lederhosen costume, my friend. David, thanks for watching the show. Making your comments has made me smile. As you guys watch this, please do questions and comments. It goes from live to recording where you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Subscribe to my Fantastic Endeavors YouTube channel. And as you're watching a comment and question, I always go back and answer all my comments. And no, the song was Zombie, Zombie, Zombie. Hey, better not sing it too long or I get dinged by YouTube, by the way. Yeah, Cranberry Zombie was sing like in every freaking tent. It was amazing. Every big sing-along song, Sweet Caroline, you name it, but that Zombie tent just resonates. It still resonates in my head. Awesome. Thank you, Dave, for watching. You're the man. Appreciate it. It's very informative. Thank you. Love the hat. Could use a new feather, huh? No, I got the feather, dude. Oh, my bad. Let me turn it back. There we go. Hey, traditional from Bavaria. I've actually been picked to be in dancing contests in Germany because this tent got compliments. All the stuff sold at the festival, by the way, is like imitation from China. If you want real stuff, you're almost better off on Amazon. For another last closing tip, thanks to David Esposito. My friends did very well on Amazon, about $100 a piece, buying authentic leather shorts, Lederhosen. But the hat, I tell you, you need to look close. Make sure it says on it, from Bavaria. I bought it from an Austrian part of Bavaria, but it's still a Bavarian hat where Munich is based. This is Bavaria, by the way. Hey, I was Kurt saying that. Sorry, Kurt. Of course, man. You know I represent. Hey, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate watching all the comments. It's always fun to grab a big beer, go back, and watch this on recording. If you just joined me, I did cover during my show. I reviewed the festival mist, the popular tents, the beer and the food, of course, in my hotel location, and the Thirsty Swagman package. And I covered my best of fest at the end. Stay tuned for that. You guys have a fantastic afternoon. And, of course, Prost.